What happened that day changed my life forever.
It was a normal Wednesday, just like any other.
God told me that evening that I have more to do in this world.
I'm Phae Paskana. I worked as a sales manager on the 42nd floor at TerrANova. It was my dream job. I had always been so inspired by TerrANova. Their charity work in Africa really caught my eye as a kid. I mean, the footage of a CEO building a 4-bedroom house in Kenya for 30 kids? Beautiful, so inspiring. The Extons really gave back. On that particular day, I got to the office much earlier than usual. I'm usually 10 to 15 minutes late, but that day we were expecting some new people. I wanted the place looking good. I'm a little particular about stuff like that. When I arrived, there was not a single person on the floor. It was early, but it did strike me as a little odd. But I didn't dwell on it, just out of my head. Try not to think about it. Maybe Mr. Exton had called an all-hands meeting, he did that a lot, and I just missed the announcement. After about 15, 20 minutes, I started thinking, no, someone should be here by now. So I got up and I walked toward the entrance and just looked around the floor a bit, and not a soul. I mean, you could hear a pin drop. It was weird. I felt like I shouldn't be there. It felt like when you go somewhere and you know you're not allowed. I don't know how else to describe it. I felt wrong. I felt wrong. I went back to my office space and all the desks, all the chairs were gone.
My name is Dr. Harriet Rani. I was a biologist for TerrANova. As Greg Sellers is a really popular name, I might as well explain my appearance. This was all classified information before the building went under. But TerrANova had an entire underground lab. It was supposed to look just like a regular skyscraper or an office building. But underneath, a lot of questionable things were taking place. There was an experiment with me that didn't quite go according to plan. But you know what? I'm getting used to it. Life goes on, and you can't get any work done if you just sit on your hiney all day. I don't think I was even in the lab. I think it was in the hallway when Dr. Smith started choking. I thought he was messing with us because it came out of nowhere. But then he collapsed and he didn't even put his hands up. His head just hit the ground and he kept gasping for air. I tried to help him. I tried to put my hand out and touch his shoulder. But my hand, it went right through him. His skin and his clothes had become this chalky type of liquid. It was unimaginable. I pulled my hand out as quickly as I could, and he just started sinking through the floor.
Name's George McKarlin. I'm a reporter and a columnist at the Rose Lake Times. I was on the top floor the day TerrANova disappeared. I was a huge fan of TerrANova growing up. They were just doing, revolutionary stuff, Product after product was just bigger and better than anybody else was putting out. Nobody else was even close. These guys, they were the visionaries, When I got the message that I was going to get unprecedented access to Harold Exton, the CEO, the visionary, the son of the founder, you just don't get many chances like that in your whole career, man. I was over the moon. When you first get to the entrance to TerrANova, you're just in awe, man. The place is huge. And I was going straight to the top. So I met some of Harold's people in the lobby, right? We were chatting and I got the gist of how this was gonna go, pretty typical. And then as I was walking over toward the elevators with them, this noise started. And it wasn't quite like thunder. It was more like some massive engine starting. Have you heard an industrial turbine turning over or something like that? Just felt the vibrations in my bones, man. So I turned to these guys and I said, what in the hell was that? They made some kind of excuse like it was just the generators down below and that this was normal, the power just tripping over. But I don't know, right? I trusted the two G's in my life, God and guts. And right at that point, my gut was telling me something was wrong. In hindsight, these guys work for TerrANova. They had to know something was going on. But I didn't quite pick up on it at that time. It's just things were off.
I went back to the elevator because this was weird. I was all alone. It didn't feel good. So I pressed the down button on the elevator and this huge roaring sound came up from below. I vibrated the whole floor. And immediately after, I just hear this bang, 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 over and over again. And I call out, hello? And I don't get a response, but I do hear this voice. And it's muttering, it sounds a little panicked. Maybe someone's crying. And I do what you're not supposed to do, and I go investigate. It's funny, we hate it when people do it in films, but when you're there in the moment, there's this urge to reassure yourself. Like your brain is saying, don't be too hasty, maybe you're overreacting. So I head toward the noise.
So we're in the elevator going floor by floor, just ignoring this crazy sound, right? Whatever. We get up there, the doors open, and down at the end of the hallway, on the outside of the office, you see Harold Exton. And I just thought, this is it. This is the biggest moment in my career. And then I stepped out of the elevator, and this foul odor was in the air. I mean, look, I've covered a war. I've smelled some things. This just got worse as he went down the hall the closer he got to the office. So one of Harold's guys, Jerry, I think his name was, he has a little nameplate on his desk outside the main office. He tried to tell me that the toilets had backed up. And I'm like, really? This rot we're smelling is from the toilets? I don't think so. And that's when I just got this flash. It's almost like an instinct you would get before a mortar would come in, right? And that's when I heard the voice. A deep voice. In the back of my head, it just whispered, don't go. Look, to this day, I 100% believe that was God warning me.
So I go into the room and there's this old lady there. She looked old. She had gray hair. I couldn't see her face, but her hands were frail. They were not kept well. They were red, flaky, and she's just hammering away at this wall. She was not there before, okay? I checked. There was nobody on the floor before I went to the elevator, and the stairs were next to me. She would have had to pass me to get into that room. So I ask her if she's okay. She just keeps hammering and muttering. And then the floor starts shaking.
The announcement came over the comm.
Attention TerrANova employees.
TerrANova employees, please evacuate the premises.
This is a level 5 alert. This is not a drill.
Me and some of the other employees, we were making our way to the fire exit. We were all sharing stories because we had just seen friends and in some cases family members just disappear. Fall through walls, the floor. I'd never seen anything like it. We were down in the stairwell and I heard this scream. And I turn around and I see this woman, Sharina. She was one of the reporters. She was trying to help this woman who was halfway through the floor. And her body, for some reason, was so heavy, like something was pulling her on the other end. We didn't have time to save her. We had to get Sharina out of there. And that's when the walls started to evaporate.
The ground started shaking as I was trying to leave. And then, and I'll never forget this, I got this tickle in my throat. And I tried to hold it back, but I couldn't. I just started coughing and coughing, right? It was like some damn jackhammer to my brain. Before I knew it, I was on my hands and knees. I just couldn't stop. And I passed out.
Well, I just jump into Phae saving mode. I go to grab her and pull her away from the walls because there's an earthquake happening. We need to get underneath something. I go to grab her and my hands just go through her like she's human jello. The part that I grab just disintegrates down to the floor in a puddle, and she just screams. Oh my God, those screams. I can still hear them, like an animal. She just falls to the ground. She's missing chunks of her body. And that wall that she's hammering at just disappears. And beyond it is just darkness, oblivion. And it just stretches on forever.
Yeah, I came to and the whole building was still shaking. I was like down a floor or something somehow. I gotta tell you, I was scared shitless. I was living in the San Fernando Valley when the '94 quake hit. That was nothing like this. This is like the hand of the Almighty beating on the side of the building, I'll tell you. People next to me were impaled on these table legs, like the tables were upside down. They were just ripped apart, like they'd fallen from some high place. I thought to myself, I had been on the top floor. Now I'm clearly not. Did I fall through the floor somehow? I mean, how does that even happen? Did these people fall through the floor somehow? Did the furniture fall through the floor somehow? Did we all fall through the floor somehow? Like, if so, I guess they landed in the wrong place. I mean, look, the law of averages, the law of large numbers. Somebody is likely to survive something like this. It's a big building. But me? One person survived, and it was me? So I got up and went and looked out a window. I wanted to see how far I'd fallen. I was on the 32nd floor out of 150. I had been at the top. Before I knew it, the floor just started to evaporate again, dissolve again. I was just shocked, and then, like, in front of me, this opening appeared. And there was a desk, so I jumped through it onto the desk. And then there was another hole and another desk. I was being led out. I was being shown a way out, like by the hand of the divine. There's no other word for this other than salvation.
By the time we reached the lobby, there was barely anything left of the building. Me and a few others, we dashed out the entrance, and we didn't even look back. We saw a police officer, and we ran right towards him. Then I heard this roar, this tidal wave of sound, and it was the building, the building just evaporating behind us into absolute nothingness.
It was over. I was out. Just like that. You know, when I look back, it was gone. In an instant. Changed forever. I mean, I'm sure people will have thoughts about what happened that day. But for me, I'm reminded of a Bible verse. Blessed are those who weep now, for they will laugh. Rejoice in that day, because great will be your reward in heaven.
My mom was in the ambulance with me. She just gave me the biggest hug. We were speechless. I mean, the whole building was gone.
I mean, one thing we didn't realize in the aftermath was how much our infrastructure depended on that one building. Rose Lake was TerrANova, you know? Hell, the whole world even.
Some of the satellites had gone down. The internet was incredibly slow or not working at all, and the cell phones were unreliable. At TerrANova, you have to understand, they own 70% of all the communication systems in the United States. And Rose Lake was ground zero. Whatever this was, it was going to take years and years to fix.
Everything just got worse from there. The weather started acting erratically. Things that shouldn't exist, couldn't exist, suddenly they... It's just... Did I tell you how I got out? I feel like I kind of glossed over that. Sorry, my brain is just kind of frazzled. It's just that clock is very loud. I can't really think over the...
I mean, it's funny, as I got out, I was thinking how lucky I was, right? When I scraped my hand, I gave myself this massive scar, right? What the fuck?
I'm sorry, I have something in my throat. Can I get a glass of water?
Oh no. I think I need some air.